Hi there, we're about to start this project. I'm going to finish this unfinished trestle style table. I just got it from Home Depot. It's 68 inches long by 36 inches wide. You can see it's distributed by Home Depot under their one of their new house brands, and it looks like it's made by this company out of China. This TSCA Title 6 compliance means that it's meets the rules on being low or free of formaldehyde. So let's get started. All right, back again. I want to show you that I finished gluing and screwing these extra pieces of 1x2 all around the perimeter. Don't have to be very neat about it because I'm gonna route and sand that edge once it's put the feet on and turn it over. But I just want them to be nice and tight, and the joints tight. So I used a big clamp where I had to, use some screws, whatever it took to get it to hold nice and tight together. Using waterproof glue, some good quality screws, and tomorrow we'll put the legs on it and turn it over and start sanding and routing that edge. Okay, so I finished gluing on that extra piece of wood to increase the thickness of the top. And you can see, I think it really matches the beefiness of the legs. Legs have this nice taper design and really sort of solid looking crossbar, and now the top sort of matches that. And, I'm gonna route that edge, get it smooth first, and then put a 1/8 inch radius on the top corner and bottom corner to make it a little gentler on hands and arms, and a little safer for little ones who might run into it. I just want to show you one of the details. You can see the wood that they use is this sort of composite that it's finger jointed together. Lots of little pieces make up all these boards. Some of them are only this long, some of them are a little longer, maybe 8 or 10 inches. But then they've cut these little grooves in there into the tabletop to make it look like it's made out of like 10-inch wide boards. So you got it's a nice feature. When we stain it and do sort of an antique finish, I think you'll just see those wide lines and not all these finger joints. I don't think I would try to stain wood like this, because you probably get a lot of, it's going to absorb stain very differently across every one of these finger joints. And the finger joints themselves, most of them look real good, but there were a couple that I noticed were open. Let me see if I can point one out. So I finished smoothing over this edge using the router. Just use a straight edge and the router to clean up, and you can see, it's nice and smooth. We've got the thickness that looks proportional to the beefiness of the legs, and the wood matches pretty well. I'm pretty happy with this. And the next step is to round over this top corner and this bottom corner. Then you could use your sander or even a piece of sandpaper by hand, but the easy way to do it is to use the router with a radius bit. So I'm going to use this one and give that a go. Finish rounding over the corners, looks great. Went over it real quickly with some 220 grit sandpaper just to make sure there was no line. And now the next step is I'm going to paint this. And this is the first project I'm doing using these chalk paints. And we don't know what that coating they put on the wood. It sanded really nicely, but I'm just a little worried about the paint adhesion. So I'm going to use this primer first. If you know for sure what the surface was, you probably wouldn't need it. And then I'm going to use this light yellow, they call it chiffon cream chalk paint. We'll rub a little bit of this glaze on it to sort of highlight some of the edges and texture. And then we're going to seal it with this matte clear protective top coat. And let's see how it goes. Okay, just finished spraying on the second coat of the color. It took me 4 cans of this primer and 3 cans of this chalk paint to get good coverage everywhere. I was a little surprised by how much primer it took. If I knew in advance, I would have probably bought it in a quart rather than using 4 aerosol cans. And you can see it's, you know, it's drying now. They say to wait about 2 hours before going on to the antique glaze product, or what they call aged glaze. So this will be next. In about 2 hours, I'll spray a very light coating of this on and rub it, try to get a nice antique look. So nothing to do right now. Clean up a little bit and wait 2 hours for the next coat. Okay, just finished doing a little distressing with some 220 grit paper, some of it by hand and some of it with my random orbital sander. Put a little spots in the middle just for contrast. Remember, I put a little bit of gray gray chalk paint under the yellow, and I had to remember where I put it. I put it there just so I'd be able to sand through and show the contrast. For the rest of it, the white primer actually makes a real nice contrast, sort of brightens it to the look. It's something I haven't done before, and it came out real nice. And just a little bit on the legs, a little bit on the footrest. So I'm going to clean it up now, and I'm going to try to put on the glaze, the white, rub that in, sort of light coat, I think. Okay, here we are after my effort to apply the aged glaze. I'm happy with the result. It's a little unusual product. It goes on real thick, like brown spray paint, and then you got to rub it off. Definitely put it on as light as you can. What I ended up doing was just rubbing it off quickly with this cotton towel, just to get most of it off, and then I dampened another rag with a little paint thinner, and that got 90% of it off. And I just sort of rubbed it in real good with another clean towel, and that left this type of finish. And it accentuated the wood grain in a few places. It definitely soaked into the places where I'd sanded through for the aging. So I'm real pleased with the overall effect. We got some real nice details here. It just happened, right? So here I sanded through the finish all the way down to the wood before I started applying the glaze. So the next coat is the clear protective finish, which I'll put on tomorrow.